What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Homie Hangout, where we help others move in excellence. And I have a conversation that I'm really looking forward to having. It's been a while in the making, and a special guest, man, an inspirational guest, to say the least. And so I'll let him introduce himself, and we'll go from there.
What's up, everyone? My name is Manuel. But before I get started, I want to let Josh. I want to know the Homie Hangout know that he inspires me because of what he's doing, his content he's doing, and the positive note that he's passing along. And so now to introduce myself, my name is Manuel, like I said, and I actually taught myself how to DJ completely blind. And go ahead and let's get started.
Sure. So where'd you grow up at?
I grew up in Stockton.
Okay. And how was it for you growing up? What was the environment like? That sort of thing.
Well, Stockton. For those that know Stockton, it's Stockton. Especially from figure I was born in '76, so '80s, '90s era, and then I met my wife and she wasn't having it. First time she went to Stockton, she's like, hell no, we ain't moving to Stockton. So I moved up here to Modesto with her.
Okay. All right. And was kind of your childhood and adolescence and that sort of stuff, was it kind of normal, just going to school, after school stuff, or did you get caught up in anything, or what'd that look like?
Yeah, honestly, the last grade I actually graduated was kindergarten, but the last grade I actually finished was the 5th grade, was the last grade I completed. I think, I was getting a lot of trouble, a lot of fights, being pretty much just going through it pretty much. And unfortunately for me, my parents really wasn't really around too much. But now, that I'm older, I'm gotten very, very close to both my mom and my dad.
That's good. That's good. And so you obviously, not obviously, I guess obvious to me because we've been talking, but so you had a tragic accident. Before we get into that, what was your life leading up to that? Right, like were you working? Did you have kids? Kind of what was a day in the life of you before that?
Well, before that, once I met my lady, we had 9 kids. All her fault, by the way. She told me morphine and Viagra.
Right.
But, I got 9 kids, and then I got 3 grandkids, and I was a truck driver.
Okay.
I hurt my back before I became a truck driver, and they told me not to work, that I was become paralyzed by the time I'm 50. But being hard-headed and stubborn, I kept working. I became a truck driver, and that's what I was doing. I was barbecuing all the time. I was just living life. I was enjoying my family, enjoying my kids, and just doing what I had to do. As a family man, before the incident occurred.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce it anymore because my jaw sits sideways now.
It's okay. It's okay. I think that everybody can understand you really well. Did you ever get caught up in the system before all this?
I got into some trouble, but the only thing I ever did was did a little time in the county.
Okay. All right.
And that was interesting because when I went in there, this is mid '90s. A lot of people weren't getting along, but fortunately, when I went in there, it wasn't fortunately that I went in there, but there's different groups were separated, and when I went there, I knew somebody from each group. So from Tracy, Lathrop, Stockton, Manteca, they all got together because I knew somebody. I was cool with everybody.
That's good. That's good. So this accident, and I know you have videos and stuff, and we're gonna talk about your YouTube channel before it's all said and done. But kind of briefly, man, what happened?
All right, so I was on my way to work, and unfortunately, I never made it to work, and My wife had two sheriffs come through the door. So what happened was I got hit by a drunk driver head on. The collision was rated at 90 miles an hour. And the hospital, nobody had no hope of me living at all whatsoever. None of the doctors, they were telling my wife to pull the plug. I was in a coma for about a month. I had a brain bleed. It left me completely blind. It left me amputee with multiple surgeries still yet to come. But so that's, it left us homeless for about a year. The other people didn't have insurance, and it was an old pickup, so I only had liability, and that become, what I'm doing now.
So, man, and I, folks can kind of see your wife popping in and out back there, and I know from our conversations, man, that she's a huge support for you and really helps you out a lot, man. And on a note separate of everything else that we're going to talk about, I respect your guys' relationship, man, and the way that the two of you, because I'm sure it's been work on both your parts, right?
7 years worth.
Yeah, bro. To keep love alive, right? And to keep the relationship going and all that other stuff. So just kind of a side note, and for people, if they're watching and they're wondering like, oh, what's going on in the background? So you say you were homeless afterwards. So I imagine you were in the hospital for quite a while, right?
Yes, I was in the hospital for a while because I was in a coma for like a month. Like I said, I wound up having to go to rehab. I'm literally medically, I am a miracle. Medically, I'm a miracle because medically I wasn't supposed to survive, let alone have any memory.
Wow. And it's during that time that you're in the hospital in a coma, going through all this stuff, that then your wife also has to decide, what are we gonna do with her and all the kids, right? And how to set stuff up. I've known a few people that, for various reasons, have had traumatic brain injuries, right? Strokes and part of the cranium cut off and all that other stuff. And it's a full-time job just to set things up to get them to come home and have everything that they need to progress in their recovery. I can't imagine what that must have been like.
So what happened with us, so, I was the only source of income. I left it up to my wife because I was making good money. I was a truck driver, so I left it up to my wife if she wanted to work or stay home with the kids, run the kids around the school and stuff. And so I was the only source of income at the time. And we had a slumlord. But when I got into this incident, he kicked us out. He couldn't wait an extra 2-3 weeks for my SSID, Social Security disability, to kick in. So he kicked us out, took us to court, sued us for $5,000, and he won. He won, but that left us homeless. And literally 3 more days later, I got my check, my back pay, and I could have paid him, but you know what? He won on paper because he can't touch my Social Security. By law, he can't touch it.
Gotcha.
And so we used that money to, we had some fundraisers to help my wife with the bills and stuff during the meanwhile, but we used that money to get a U-Haul and put our stuff in storage. And that's where, most of that money went. And luckily, we couldn't get any help from the county because I was making too much unearned income because of my Social Security. So they wouldn't help us. And, but, my sister-in-law took us in for a while. Our cousin wound up taking us in. But during the meanwhile, we were literally living in our Suburban. We had a older Suburban. That's what we were living in at the time.
Okay. And so, what year was the accident?
September 18, 2018.
Okay. Oh, so it wasn't that long ago, 1920. So about 4 years ago, coming up on 4 years.
Yeah, coming up.
And obviously you're not living in a Suburban now, right?
Right.
And so what, how did you deal with it? You know, you personally, right? Going from an able-bodied person, the breadwinner for your family, the father of a basketball team, and then some, right?
So,
And yeah, how did that go?
so me personally, uh, when I was first coming out of my coma, I shocked everybody because I was literally when I came out of my coma, I was listening to my kids crying, my wife crying, and I literally was listening to the doctor telling my wife to pull the plug on me because I'm not gonna live, and my body felt paralyzed, and I forced myself to sit up, and everybody kind of freaked out. A couple of days went by, I woke up to pretty much the same thing, but the doctor was telling my wife I was gonna have no brain memory because I had a brain bleed in my brain that was non-surgical. So when I found out what was going on and they were telling me what happened, the honest God truth, I accepted it from the jump. I never let it get me down. When they were telling me what was going on, I accepted it, and my first thought was, I gotta, speak to the kids. I gotta get my story out there and let them know the severity of drinking, intoxicated. And which I was the one drinking. The crazy thing is, I never drank. I wasn't a drinker growing up. I was always a designated driver. And unfortunately, and I wound up getting hit by a drunk driver. But yeah, she wasn't. This particular person wasn't just drunk. She was, she was high and she was coked out. And but I accepted it, and now I speak at DUI classes. I speak at high schools, events, and I'm just, for me, I guess you can say it's a part of therapy because trying to help others, turning my negative into a positive, pretty much is what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. What when the accident happens, right? I've never been in an accident nearly that serious, right? Never been in a car accident, even where I lost consciousness. Do you see the car coming at you and then kind of everything goes blank and you wake up when you wake up in the hospital or
Well, the crazy thing is that now every time I hear sirens, I get like I don't want to say the wrong words, but flashbacks of that morning.
mm,
So I get flashbacks every time I hear sirens, and I get little glimpse of the actual morning what happened.
mm,
And so the glimpse I get, I do remember seeing a car swerve into my lane right before, but it corrected itself. So at that time, I thought nothing of it. But the actual point of impact, the glimpse that I get is that they swerved into my lane, and I went to go get out of the way, but obviously, I didn't make it out the way.
right.
But I do remember being in the ambulance, and this is from my glimpse, hearing sirens and stuff. I remember being in the ambulance and hearing my wife's voice telling me, "You know what? You're okay. You're okay. You let them do their job. You're gonna be okay. They're taking you to the hospital." And that was the last thing I actually remember besides waking up from the coma. But I will say this: when somebody's in a coma, for anybody that watches this, do me a favor from experience, hold their hands, talk to them, let them know, because even though they may not respond, they feel your presence and they know you're there. And I know this from experience.
No, that's good insight right there. Born out of a tragic circumstance, but that's a good word. So you, as I said, this is inspirational in my book, and it's not just the inspiration because you survived what really nobody except probably your wife thought that you could survive. Um, and what have you done since then? I know you go around to the DUI classes and you try to help raise awareness around, um, around driving drunk and intoxication and that sort of thing. But you go by the name DJ See No Evil. So help me out with that one.
Okay, so before the accident, rewind a little bit. What I would do for fun was I would go and do DJ parties. I wasn't a professional DJ. I didn't know how to DJ at the time. I just had a cheap little mixer and a couple of CD players and 218s that I got at the flea market with some lights. So I went on Craigslist and I put for those that can't afford a DJ, I got decent equipment to go DJ your wedding. So I was doing I DJ a couple times a wedding in a backyard, and they loved it, and it was like $50 here, $100 here, pretty much doing it for fun for people that couldn't afford a real DJ. So after my incident, and after I came home and everything, well, right before I had decided, I want to buy myself real equipment. I want to actually learn. But I never got to that point. I was able to buy the equipment, but I was never actually got to learn. So after my accident and after we moved everything to storage, oil ruined all my equipment. That spilled in the storage room. So, I had help getting new equipment. Well, when I was getting new equipment, I was asking the guy there at the Guitar Center, do you have something where I don't have to use a laptop? Where I can use my CDs or some like a USB or something. So he looked literally for about 15, 20 minutes and he found something. He found a board and it takes USBs. And now that's what I go off of. And, my kids, my wife, they set up the USBs in order of the music. And so I had so I was like, what, I want to learn this board. And I learned, every day I was on that board. And a friend of mine told me, what, this is what you listen for to catch the beat. So that's what I started listening for. And I started remixing songs on my YouTube channel. A lot of my stuff are old stuff, but you can see I didn't know I was remixing songs, and remixing the songs, that's where I learned how to count beats. And then later on, another friend of mine taught me how to make it sound better when I blend it into the next song, when I blend in a song, remixing the song. So, I've learned a lot since I first started. I came a long way. And one of my friends, he's now passed away due to COVID. I had recorded him back in 2002, 2003. And I was listening to his CD because he was a professional DJ. I was listening to how he did it. And I learned a lot just listening to his CD that I recorded him do. Yeah, it's just, it's a trip. It's a trip, but I'm doing it.
Yeah, yes, you are. Yes, you are. And I'm gonna link. You said your channel's called DJ See No Evil, and it'll be linked to in the title. It'll be linked to in the description. I'll be sharing it across the platforms. I encourage everybody to go check it out. Right, to go check it out, take a listen. You're right. You can see the progression of your skills through it all. Even your older stuff is better than I and most people I know could do. But you can see, how you learn more. So now when you DJ, is it still, $50 or for people that can't afford it in backyards, or have you been able to do different things with it?
Well, now that I DJ, I had a friend of mine out in Stockton that owns his own business, and he broke down the business side of it. But I was DJing at a nightclub, and they were only paying me, it was either 120 or at the door. And the reason why I wound up switching it to the 120 because my daughter would be outside, and it was I would get what's at the door. And literally you figure there was one time she counted like 80. I was bringing in a crowd. She counted like 80 guys walked in, like 72, 73 girls walked in, and I was only getting like $70 out of it.
Wow. Okay.
And so now I still do work with people that can't afford it, but I do put my price out there. Like a friend of mine told me, know your worth. You got your worth. You can't really do homie hookups because the homies ain't gonna pay your rent at the end of the month.
Exactly.
They're not gonna put food on your kids' table when there's no food on the table.
Right.
So, I still try to work with people, because I know, especially right now, it's hard times. So I still try to work with people because I know how it is to be there. And, but I do put a price out there, and, they can't afford it. I'll go down, but, they can afford it. Obviously, that's what I want to charge is my work pretty much.
Right, right. No, I have you make a good point, and I have a handful of friends that have different hustles, right? Legitimate hustles, whether it's tattooing or working on cars or whatever, landscaping, whatever it may be. Um, and and that's the lesson they've all had to come to learn as well, right? Is the homie hookup doesn't pay your bills, and if folks are really rocking with you and folks are really supporting your business effort, or folks are really supporting your art, right, and your talent and your craft, that support looks like paying for the work. It doesn't look like asking for everything for free. You know what I mean? And so I'm glad you said that, and I hope that some other people out there that are doing their own stuff in their own way, kind of take heed to that. There's a balance between looking out for people and just shooting yourself in the foot. You know what I mean? Um, so so you teach yourself how to DJ after you go blind, right? So I'm guessing your family goes with you when you go out to DJ or whatnot.
Yeah, well, my road crew goes with me, my wife, and also my groupie, by the way. Um, and she breaks down my equipment. She sets it all up for me. So of course, I gotta pay my road crew,
Yeah.
but yeah, she does all the physical work for me because I'm not able to do it anymore.
Mhm.
Because I'm still got multiple surgeries. I'm an amputee, and but the reason why she's picky about it because she knows how I was with my things before my accident.
Mhm.
And, so she likes to keep it the way I used to like it, and real, organized and neat and real careful and delicate with my stuff.
Right, right. How um how are things with your kids after your accident? Um,
Uh, with my kids, at first they took it hard. My daughters, every year they win state, they win nationals in dance.
mhm.
My son, my youngest son, he's awesome, awesome football player, and fortunately he had to miss a season of football because he tore his shoulder, and so after my accident, they didn't want to leave my bedside because they didn't know if I was going to live or die. All they
Sure.
knew was the doctor was telling them that I wasn't going to make it. So when I came out of my coma, I told them, you know what, if anything, do for yourself.
Mhm.
Regardless if I don't make it, if I do make it, I want to be there watching you either way. I want to be
Mhm.
there hard. So they did want to keep going on. But the school wise, uh, they got in trouble by the district because the district told them that they shouldn't have been there by my bedside. They need to be at school learning. They're not set up for trauma for the kids to help the kids through trauma. They're set up pretty much for themselves. You have to be in school. You have to be learning. So they got probation. The high schools themselves, the schools themselves, they try helping, but the district wasn't having it, and
Mhm.
so they got in trouble. They got on probation and everything. And even now, being that they have to help me, they see me, I have to put my leg on and just go to the restroom. I have to put my shoe on my leg and
Right.
in the middle of the night, and it's hard for them,
Yeah.
and it's something that they have to live with. And that's what I get a lot of. I shouldn't say friends. Now that I look back, uh, I say acquaintances because a lot of them disappeared on me, and their reasoning is because they can't see me the way I am. Well, unfortunately, my wife and my kids see me like this every day, and I'm the one living with it.
Mm.
So, I had a lot of people turn their back on me when they were there, first ones there. When I was throwing a barbecue or something.
Right.
Now, they don't invite me to anything because they feel bad for seeing me the way I am. But yet, my kids and my wife has to live with it every day.
Right. No, that's another. I think that's another cautionary word for those of us that maybe have loved ones that find themselves in a bad spot, or you get a little bit older, an accident happens or something, and they're not exactly the way that we would like to remember them, but they're still living and they're still here. Um,
Listen,
and and yeah, I think that's important to say, right? In terms of you you may have the luxury of turning a blind eye, no pun intended, to somebody who's in bad shape, but they don't, right? And their families don't, and those close to them don't, and excuse me, and it still affects them, right? And so
and
I'm glad you said that.
yeah, because and it's crazy because a lot of people don't know that I'm blind looking at me.
Hmm.
Let me tell you an incident that happened at this nightclub that tried to pay me without my wife being there, and they tried to pay me $50. Um, but I didn't take it because I said you got to give it to my wife.
Right.
Well, uh, this particular night it was funny because it was a ladies' night, and I was bringing in a crowd, and I was promoting it, bringing in the crowd, and so I don't understand the concept of getting a go-go dancer on ladies' night. Well, my wife was setting me up. She was getting my equipment, bringing it in. And when a man has to go to the restroom, they have to go to the restroom.
Right.
So I'm on my walker and I'm standing up, waiting for my wife to finish. And I hear the owner slash manager of the nightclub talking to the go-go dancer. And he introduced me to her. I shook her hand, and so my wife was done. She took me to the restroom, and I was sitting there, checking all the sound system, making sure everything sounded right, everything was working properly. And she comes up to me, and and this is funny, but it's a true story. She comes up to me, she goes, "I want to say thank you," and I was like, "Oh, you're welcome. That's I'm here. This is what they're paying me to do. Play music." She goes, "No, hon, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about for being excited for when you were looking at me." She had no clue I was blind. So
Right.
I was stuck on stupid. I didn't want to burst her bubble and tell her I couldn't see her. So I was like, well, you look good. Well, throughout the night, she kept coming up and telling me, I was doing a good job and everything. And well, I guess she was trying to get my attention. And my wife went up to her and said, he can't see you. He's completely blind. And she kind of got butthurt. She didn't talk to me the rest of the night, which, but
Right.
like that's one of the things. Like I DJ'd the 49ers Rams party before the Super Bowl tailgate party, and I had a lady come up to me, and she was crying. She goes, "You know what?" My wife told her the story, and she was crying. She goes, "Can I take a picture of you and with you?" I was like, "Yeah, no problem." She goes, "Well, I want to send this picture to my husband because my husband don't come to none of the games because he's embarrassed because he's in a wheelchair.
Mm.
Out here DJing with one leg, completely blind.
Yeah.
You're an inspiration." So I said, "You know what? Go ahead, go for it, and let your husband." She goes, "Yeah, my husband don't have an excuse no more. He's coming with me to the games."
Yeah.
And so my wife gave her number, and he's called, and I talked to him a couple of times. So it was cool, and it worked out cool, and actually uplifted his spirits a little bit, and that made me feel good as a person that I
Sure.
was able to help someone in that matter.
Yeah. Was that something that you anticipated happening? So I know you put effort into, speaking to people about the dangers of drunk driving and that sort of thing, right? Which kind of, it makes sense. Um, did you anticipate just your presence, right? Your presence out in public, your presence in in doing stuff and really finding ways to thrive in spite of whatever physical challenges there are. Did
Uh,
you did you know that that would have that kind of, you know, that that had the potential to really motivate and encourage people, or did you just kind of do it because that was your process?
Honestly, I just do it because I didn't, expect all the, positive results I'm getting back. I don't look at it as doing something positive. I'm looking at it as I'm doing anything any other man would do, any other strong person that cares about himself and his family would do. I'm not doing nothing different.
Hmm.
And that's the way I look at it, And a lot of people tell me different, and a lot of people tell me, I'm expiring, but I don't see it that way. I just see it as accepting what happened to me and moving forward and doing the best with what God gave me.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. A lot of the most inspirational people I know have the same mindset, right? And I think that leads to kind of the power and the authenticity, right? And so I'm not surprised that you think that way, but I'm also not surprised that those around you are like, nah, for you, you're encouraging, you're inspirational. So I imagine there's a handful of things that you had to kind of learn or relearn to do. Um, once you went blind, obviously you picked up and got better at an existing hobby. Was there other stuff, either cool stuff that you're able to learn, or stuff that was really kind of a challenge to get used to? Because you can accept where you're at, and that doesn't mean that it's easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say honestly, I'm not too sure because I never looked at it as like, yeah, it's more challenging, of course, to get around the house. It's more challenging to, pick up a book and read it. That's something I haven't learned yet.
Right. That's got to be rough. Yeah.
Yeah, but besides that, I never really looked at anything else as challenging. I just get up and do it. If it's harder, it's harder. I never thought about it that way.
Mhm.
I never tried looking at anything in a negative way. I've always just get up and do it, just go.
Mhm.
And that's something, that's the way I've always been, even before my incident.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think a lot of people would assume that they'd be bitter and angry and life isn't fair and all that other stuff. And a lot of us, probably most of us have met folks that are like that, right? That for whatever challenge they went through, right? Whether it's a felony background, whether it's an amputation, whether it's a specific learning challenge, whatever it may be, where they kind of turn inward and they're like, hey man, this ain't right, this ain't fair, I can't, you know. So I commend you for not taking that approach. And it sounds like for you it wasn't necessarily difficult.
Yeah, for me personally, it wasn't. I do have a neighbor. Uh, I guess he's a double amputee,
Mm-hmm.
and he's in the wheelchair. I don't know why he doesn't get prosthetics and walk, but we do hear him yelling at his mom all the time. And excuse my language, but I'll keep it clean. But FUB,
Right.
uh, people like me shouldn't be living. I'll F and kill you, B. And he's always yelling at us, uh, shut the F up. And one time when we first moved in here, uh, we were walking outside and he was out there in his wheelchair and he told my wife, you know what, you effing wetback.
Wow.
You guys need to stop breaking into my garage and messing with my engine. And he goes, if you choose, sir, if I had my legs, I'd be in your face too. So me being who I am, I snapped off, I leaned against the Suburban. I snapped off my leg. I go, here. I pick it up. I go, here, let me throw you my leg for we can be even. And he got stuck on stupid. He didn't know what to say. I go, and on top of it, you got your eyesight on top of me. And he didn't know what to say. My son, my 14-year-old son at the time comes running outside. He goes, "Hey, Dad, let me wet him down with the water hose. What are they gonna do? Get me out with the water hose?" And but that's the way we are. We just make the best of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. After that, we still hear him young. He's very unhappy. He's never accepted what he has, but he's lucky. He's so much lucky that he only has amputated legs, that he still got his eyesight. Because honestly, I'd rather have 2 amputated legs than be blind.
Yeah.
And but he doesn't see it that way. But everybody's different. Everybody's different, and I feel bad for him to the point that he hasn't accepted it and he's in depression. But that's something I can't change, because he won't talk to us at all.
Right.
He won't give us the time of day. And his mom's literally scared of him, and that makes me feel bad for her as well.
Sure.
She's an older lady.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but there's an old saying of the guy who had a small house was jealous of the guy who had a big house until he seen somebody that only had a car. And the guy who had a car was jealous of the guy with the small house till he seen somebody that only had a bike. And on and on, right? The guy with the bike jealous till he sees bike. And then it's like, oh man, I seen somebody with no legs. And so the guy with one shoe was like, hey, I got something to be thankful for, and you kind of remind me of that in the sense of, you said it a couple of times, of recognizing what you have. A lot of times those that have experienced loss operate from a view of what they lost. They focus on what they've lost. And
what they got.
Yeah. And
in life, there's always somebody that has it worse. Always. Yeah. Like, for example, us, we're struggling check by check, literally event by event, check by check, to make bills, to put food on the table. But we have a roof over our heads. We have, in the middle of the summer, we got, our AC only works half the times, but, we got somewhat of an AC. When you got these people living out there in the streets in tents, if they're lucky enough to even have a tent.
Right.
And like in Stockton before, how many people was living under the bridge?
Yeah.
It's wild. It's just, there's always somebody that has it worse, and that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. I hear you, man. I hear you. Is there anything else that you kind of want to share, and and then I want to get into some of your work and stuff, but
honestly, my personal opinion, for whoever's watching this, pretty much the only ones who's standing in our own way is ourselves. We got bumps in the roads, and we have people, trying to throw an enchilada to throw you off track or something. But we're pretty much the only ones that are holding ourselves down. So just, keep your head up, keep moving forward, and get it done as best you can. That's my personal opinion in life, period.
Yeah, no, that's a good note to end it on, man, and wise words from a credible source, right? It hopefully that resonates a little more coming from you than it would if I said it or somebody else said it, right? Because you're living it, in a very clear and obvious way, right? What if people wanted to, we got some subscribers from the area, and I know some folks around the area. So if somebody wanted to book you for an event, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is either through my email, which is dj.seenoevil209@gmail.com, or call me direct at and I give my number out on my channel all the time, 209-496-7571. And the crazy thing with my phone, I don't know where it's at. I don't see it anywhere.
It's somewhere around there.
Yeah, somewhere around here. With my phone, you found it? Okay, yeah, with my phone, it's a flip phone. It's a
Mhm.
smartphone, actually. See, check it out. So what it does,
Home screen 427.
it reads me everything. It talks to me. The reason why I got a flip phone because the two is ABC, so I know exactly what I'm texting.
Right.
And so it's pretty much a phone for me. It works for me. It's a smartphone for me. It gets a little irritating at times, but hey, it's doing the job.
Right, right. No, and I've talked to you on that phone. I've texted you on that phone, and yeah, it sure works. But your morning jokes are amazing. They're amazing. Unfortunately, we couldn't do this a little bit earlier when my daughter was still over here. But I have a feeling at some point you'll probably be back on and maybe get you on a live or something. And when they're over here,
Oh yeah, I would love that.
yeah, as she expressed to you, before, just when you were in the chat, she
Yeah.
she thinks you're an amazing person, man, and I can see why. Do you have like a Cash App or PayPal or any of that stuff? And if you do, I mean, you can say it on here, or you can just send me the information and I'll put it in the description of the video. I'll put your email and stuff too. But
Yeah. Honestly, if I do, I don't know it. You have to ask my wife.
okay. All right. Well, we'll touch base offline and
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah, whatever that information is, I'll put it in the description of the video so that you guys know how you can get in touch with Mr. DJ See No Evil. And once again, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate your family, right? And I think you have a lot of transformative stuff to say, man. And I wouldn't be surprised if some people watching this, may not want you to to speak to their people, to speak to their groups, whether it's around drinking or around some other topic. You make people smile, man, and
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing, with your channel. It's amazing. You're using, your experience to make something positive, like what I'm trying to do with mine, with my experience. And I sit here and I get my youngest son to put you on the TV once in a while. My phone only lets me allow, to play whatever YouTube it gives me.
right.
But my son's here, I have him put your channel on and have him listen to you. This way they know, people out there knows, what they are or not getting themselves into.
Yeah.
And, it just, to me, it's positive all the way around.
I appreciate that, brother. I do, man. That's a high compliment, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Yeah, off top. So I'm gonna wrap this up. This is the Homie Hangout. Help others move in excellence. That's what homies do. Help yourself at the same time because you're worth it. Help your community because they need you. And tap in with DJ See No Evil, man. I just listened earlier to his mix from that 49ers tailgate party he talked about. And yeah, bro, we was gigging in the car. We were gigging in the car. And so you don't have to be a Niners fan to tap in, quite as it's kept. He's not even a Niners fan, but we're going to work on that in a future episode. You guys take care, man. Check out the Homeboys channel. Support him, please. And if you need a DJ and you're somewhere in the Stockton, Sacramento area, well, there you go. You have one. All right, you guys, take care.
All right, you too.